When I first started in the newsroom, I was only just sort of getting the hang of using social media and navigating those areas in order to get information for a story. But now sometimes an entire story can be based on the information that I find on social media, particularly in crime, because quite often it's difficult to get information out of people when you're reporting on a crime, because you're reporting about horrible things that have happened to people, and it's not often that they want to talk to you. So it doesn't always work just approaching someone and asking them what's happened. Sometimes you've got to do a lot of that digging yourself, and social media is just such an incredible resource for digging and finding information that people might not necessarily say to your face. So for example, I've been doing a lot of reporting on Australians being killed in the civil war in Syria. And that is something that people do not want to talk about on the surface. You get a lot of pushback from the community, and people just simply don't want to talk about it, including the authorities. But they will be a lot more open on their Facebook pages and on social media. And so I spend a lot of time sometimes just trawling through social media, and it becomes really important to get those skills in looking through social media, through Twitter and Facebook and anything and everything that you can find, to try and get even tiny little bits of information that you then build up and up and up, and the more you get, it gradually starts to form something that might be a story or might be information for your story. And sometimes it's a very forensic process. You might only find the tiniest little bits of information on someone's Facebook profile, but each little bit eventually adds up. And I guess that's the process of writing a news story, or a crime story in particular, is that you're looking for tiny little bits of information that eventually build up into something bigger.
Social media, again, is one of those big tools that we have. It helps us find information because it's another way to be able to communicate with people. It's basically that old-fashioned thing of you find stories by talking to people. It's just you talk to people in different ways these days. You can still talk to them at the pub, but you can also talk to them over Twitter, over Facebook, and all the other social media platforms.
A lot of organisations, a lot of newspapers have a presence on social media. They have Facebook pages, and they put stories out there, and they engage with their readers. But I find that the ones that are most successful, and the ones that speak to me, the newspapers and the media outlets that I engage with most on social media myself as a reader, are the ones who drop the pretense that they are a great monolithic institution engaging with people, looking down on high and saying, here's a link to another great story from our wonderful reporters. I find that it doesn't quite work that way in social media. On Facebook, on Instagram, we're all much more personal. We just let it hang out a bit more. We complain on Facebook about, oh my God, my dog just pooped again on the carpet. It's kind of the place where we go to be our sort of daggy, slightly more authentic selves. And I feel that news outlets who are able to tap into that a little more, can break through, I guess, that fourth wall and engage with people. Because there are a lot of media outlets or news organizations out there who have a lot of likes on Facebook, but they put stuff out on Facebook or they put stuff out on Twitter, and it doesn't get retweeted, and no one clicks on it, no one likes it. But it's about dropping the veil and saying, look, we are humans, and we're going to engage with you as humans. Here's something that made our day. Here's something we're kind of angry about. Are you angry about it too?
Twitter and Facebook are obviously the more prominent platforms out there. Twitter is used really for news, for innovation, for being on the cusp of change, and to be really in with those knowledgeable people, if you like. Whereas Facebook seems to be more gossipy, if I may say, and it's more of to show that you know what you're talking about amongst your friends and sharing of interest of stories. Now that can change dramatically, and I can see moving forward as well, as we've seen new platforms emerging, more instant conversations with the things of Snapchat that had been introduced some time ago, and no doubt there'll be more platforms of social media that will be introduced into this sphere, and it will just be more spread. So really from a journalist point of view, they have to think about how you're going to create your story in a content point of view. So copy, imagery, videos, and not think about one channel, but how that's going to reach people on a number of channels, and then how is that going to become shareable. That's going to be really key.
Most people have a Facebook page now. We've got about 12 million users in Australia in 2014, and there are about 2 million Twitter users. So Facebook was very, very mainstream. And you look at your page and you've got everyone from your grandmother to, your young niece or nephew, and your kids are all on Facebook. So it's really a way that people are organising their lives online. They log into Facebook and they can catch up on their news, they can catch up on what their friends are doing, see their invitations, and that's the way they it's a little portal actually for a lot of people. It's a portal to where they actually go on and look at the rest of the internet and look at the rest of their news.
I follow Twitter, obviously, and follow a lot of different bloggers. I've started following a lot of people involved in the immigration world, and these bloggers have an insight that I just wouldn't get working in Parliament House. They might be on Manus Island, or they're talking to people who are on Christmas Island, and they start blogging about it, and then you read their blog and think, actually, that might be a worthy story to follow up. And that just happened with me 2 days ago. I saw a blog that someone had written about the 457 visa. I thought that sounded really interesting and followed it up. So that's been a really good way of following tweets and then following these bloggers who often are really racing on the pulse. They know what's going on in the area. They just don't have a big audience. So I look at that and then go and do my own research. That's been really helpful. Facebook's really helpful. So if people see me on Facebook, they might think I'm not working, but I'm actually getting stories. And even when I had to do a lot of case studies in consumer affairs, I'd often write on Facebook, does anyone know of someone who has a cat and a dog and is voting in the election tomorrow? And people would write back and yes, and then they'd link to people, my neighbour does she want to be involved? And I became quite renowned for getting case studies quite quickly, but it's all through Facebook because everyone kind of linked to everyone. So without technology, you would have had to make all the calls, and you save a lot of time by sending that one message out.